There's a phrase that people often use whenever something goes badly wrong. They say, the system failed. Now, sometimes that's true, but what I've started to notice about that phrase is that it often gets used in a way that removes responsibility from the people who built that system, the people who run it, and the people who chose not to change it. Because systems don't just appear out of thin air. Rules are written by people, policies are approved by people, warnings are ignored by people, and incentives are created by people. And when the outcomes start to become harmful, unfair, or destructive, we're often told that nobody's really to blame because it's complicated. But complicated for who? For the person harmed by it, the consequences are usually very simple. They suffer, they lose opportunities, they get ignored, and they're told to move on. Meanwhile, the institution just carries on. And that's the part that people rarely say out loud. Most systems don't fail in the way we're told or how we imagine they do. Sometimes they function exactly as designed, which is to protect reputation, protect hierarchy, avoid embarrassment, preserve authority, and keep uncomfortable truths contained. And once you notice that, a lot of things start to make sense. Think about workplaces, for example. Employees point out obvious problems: waste, inefficiency, mismanagement, unfair treatment, issues that could often be fixed. But instead of fixing the issue, management will often label the person raising it as negative, difficult, or disruptive. Why? Because solving the problem may require accountability, and accountability threatens status. So the easier option is to dismiss the messenger and keep the structure intact. And once you recognize that pattern in smaller organizations, you start noticing versions of it elsewhere too, because institutions often respond fastest when their image, authority, or legitimacy feels challenged. Problems that affect ordinary people can linger for years, while criticism that threatens confidence can receive an immediate response. And that tells you something very important about priorities. Whenever serious failures happen, the public is often told that full transparency would not be in the public interest. And that phrase always interests me because sometimes public interest seems to mean not embarrassing those in charge, not undermining confidence, not forcing difficult questions, and not exposing how long people knew. And again, the cost of that secrecy is paid by ordinary people, not by those making the decisions. And that's why I'm skeptical whenever people say, don't blame individuals, blame the system. No, blame both where appropriate because systems are tools and tools are designed, maintained, and used by people. If a harmful system remains in place for years after warnings were raised, that's no longer an accident. That becomes a decision, sometimes through cowardice, sometimes through self interest, and sometimes through indifference, but a decision all the same. Now, this doesn't mean that every person in authority is corrupt or malicious. Some are competent, some genuinely care, and some try to improve things. But institutions often reward those who preserve stability more than those who tell difficult truths. And that incentive matters, and it explains why obvious problems can remain obvious for years. So when people say the system failed, maybe the better question is, failed who? Because many systems work quite well for the people benefiting from them. And until we're willing to ask who gains, who loses, who knew, and who chose not to act, nothing really changes. We just keep renaming the problem and reproducing it. I'm Andy Gates, and this is Between Worlds. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.